Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cactus Patch. I am your host, Glitch Cactus, but you can call me Cactus. And today we have a very special and amazing episode. We are going to be discussing the recently announced LAN Championship Showdown, and who else better than to have talk about this than FalcoFlyer. Falco, how are you doing today?
Hey, Cactus. Good afternoon, early evening. I am doing great. It is the coldest day of the year, 9 days in, but like it's legit. I think the coldest day we've had all winter. It was like 5 degrees when I woke up, and I, in true Falco form, still got a large iced coffee from Panera, even though it's 5 degrees out. So it
Yeah. Can't go wrong
you
with a
know
cold coffee, like honestly.
no, it's part of my routine. I'm in the Panera Sip Club, so I get like you get a free drink every 2 hours if you wanted. So every morning it's like on my way to work.
Just stop
I
in.
always stop at Panera. Absolutely. Oh yeah. Like my dad will do the same for one of like our local gas stations. He's like one of the rewards members and he
Mhm.
always gets an unsweet iced tea with 2 packets of Splenda. But my kryptonite is a large iced coffee, no cream, no sugar. Fill the large cup up with ice and then the rest with just the cold brew. And I will do that every single day that I possibly can.
I can't say I blame you. I'm one of those people like I will also like it'll be a hot day in the summer. I'll still like sometimes crave a hot chocolate and just get a hot chocolate.
Oh yeah,
I'll
I
be
don't blame you.
melting, but hey, you can't go wrong.
No, no. It's always a solid choice.
So for those who maybe don't know who you are somehow, some way, why don't you give us a little bit of introduction, who you are, what you do, things like that.
Sure, yeah. So my name is Falco. I have been in the Splatoon scene since about 2017, pretty much right at the start of Splatoon 2. I started streaming on Twitch before Splatoon 2 came out, but when Splatoon 2 was released, I kind of put my main focus onto there. It's kind of funny, right when the game came out, like I pre-ordered it because there really weren't a ton of games you could get on the Switch in
Hmm.
summer of 2017. There just wasn't
Yeah.
a lot out there, and this Splatoon franchise was a game. It was a game I was definitely interested in, but Splatoon 1 came out my last year of college, and I just like didn't have time to find new hobbies and interests.
Yeah.
Like I was focusing on graduation and studying and all that. So I waited till the sequel Splatoon 2 came out and um really have been streaming it consistently from the beginning of 2018 onward, right up until the end of this year. I don't really plan on streaming much this year, just for priorities and different interests and whatnot. But I've kind of done almost everything you can do in the Splatoon scene. I've competed with a team. I've been a pretty consistent streamer. I've even TO'd a tournament series. I've commentated. I've produced some streams myself. So I just kind of like to dip my toes in really every area of the Splatoon scene that I possibly can, and it's been a lot of fun. And it's what I've been doing for what the last 7 years now, which is absolutely wild.
It's crazy to think how long like Splatoon has really come for. To think that this year is the 10-year anniversary. I don't know how to feel about that.
Oh my gosh, I know, and it's like I know it was the Wii U, but it's I it's just like it's crazy. Time has flown by so fast, especially in the Splatoon world. So,
Yeah.
thinking about how it's been 10 years since the IP has been created is wild to think about.
Oh, for sure. And like just to so when we saw Splatoon 3, how like Nintendo's kind of making it so like the character kind of grows up with the player. So like they're like slightly taller, they have slightly better physique features. It's like wow, like
Yeah.
they're making this like a series you grow up with, and like I'm waiting Splatoon 4. It's like will be those like angsty teenage early adult years.
I know. Well, I go back and I look at footage from like Splatoon 1 and even Splatoon 2, and it just feels like the beta version of our current game,
Yeah.
where like you can definitely tell it's evolved. And it's like, I don't know, it's not like I'll say like the Pokemon franchise where you can
Hmm.
tell they're very much like different types of games. It's like, no, this one just always feels like legit the next iteration of the game. Like they've polished the game some more. So yeah, it's cool that we've grown up with it. You're right, exactly.
Yeah, and considering, soon the Switch 2 will probably its way, make its announcement. It's only time will tell what will be next for Splatoon 4. I do kind of want to pick your story a little bit, right? A little more about you. So what kind of drew you to um competitive with Splatoon? I know you said like you got into Splatoon in general because back then there wasn't a lot of, games came out, and I 100% right there with you. Like my choices was between Splatoon and ARMS, and luckily I got persuaded the right way.
Yeah, I think there was one Nintendo ARMS tournament or something, and
Yeah.
then I'm pretty sure that was it. Thankfully, Splatoon has had a few more official sponsored tournaments. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, so really into comp. It's kind of interesting because I knew of the scene, but didn't really know much about it because
Hmm.
all I would do really is just kind of play by myself,
Yeah.
and I didn't really have people to play with, and I honestly didn't seek out people to play with either, to be honest, because I know a lot of people, if they're trying to figure out like how can I play with others on like playing Splatoon, they'll always like look for Twitch streamers who are playing with viewers or something, and I
Yeah.
really didn't even do that much. Um, but there was a streamer who I would watch every day, pretty much do like a work lurk and hang out, and I was a mod in their channel, and then one day they're like, "Hey, like I want to play competitive and I want to form a team with a few of my Twitch mods. Do you want to like enter this Squid Ladder tournament?" And this is in like 20 early 2019, I think.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, let's do it. Let's
Absolutely.
do yeah, that sounds good." So it was me, Snowpoke, DGG, and another streamer than Zombalina. We kind of played together. Our team was called Octarian Rhapsody,
I love that. I'm
and
all for
yeah,
it.
I think we played in like 2 or 3 tournaments, and we all come from like the solo queue world, so we did not know how to play with each other. I think one night we tried to have an overcooked, like we played Overcooked together to try and like do some team bonding, but that didn't
Yeah.
help or anything. So that's really how I like got into the competitive community, but I would say what really immersed me was commentating,
Hmm.
and that's because Snowpoke also she was running a tournament series called Ink Theory,
Okay.
and it was a really well put on tournament that was like an open invite, had a lot of different teams, a lot of different players, and there were quite a few editions of it, and they'd always get like between 40 and 60 teams. Um, and that was really my first experience with even watching a competitive Splatoon tournament, even like before Low Ink. So I kind of helped her with that. I made like she had a dashboard that would kind of update some of the overlays, so I did that and also commentated with her. Um, and then I figured out, I was like, you know what, I like this. This is a lot of fun, and I feel like I could do this for more tournaments. And I think what helps with that too is like since I already kind of was used to streaming,
Hmm.
used to I'll say like entertaining in that way. It wasn't that difficult, but what the I will tell you, and you probably know this too from experience, Cactus, the
Yeah.
first time you ever commentate Splatoon it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like you will do bad.
Yeah.
Like
No,
relative
100%.
to where you grow, and you being like plural everybody,
Hmm.
so it's crazy to think about that too, but um between commentating tournaments and assisting with some of the production on other tournaments is really how I got my foot in the door for a lot of other opportunities I've had, and it's definitely been so much fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I still remember, I think the first time I ever did commentary obviously was through SplatoonTourney. I still remember the tweet you put out, and like I was like refreshing your Twitter page for like sometimes waiting because you said you're gonna announce like the server for it. Like it's soon. I know it.
Was
It's
it was
coming.
it for Ludi tonight? Was that your first?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, nice.
Ludi
Yeah.
tonight was my breakthrough for commentary, and I remember my first ever commentary was a Ludi set, and I think I was paired with oh wow, my mind's blanking on their name. I know that I still have it saved on YouTube, like the VOD of it, because I like to go back sometimes and watch like
Right.
how bad I was
Yeah, yeah.
just to see. Um, but yeah, everyone starts somewhere, and it's a fun moment to like relive. Just be like, yeah, That's how it used to be back then. Even also like
It's
game wise
it's hard
too.
to watch though. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's one of those things you definitely should have. And actually, I did something very similar to one of my streams where I the very first time I ever streamed Splatoon back in 2017, I
Mhm.
saved that VOD. And last year I rewatched it on stream and all I did was make fun of myself. And it was like the worst thing I could possibly do. Like what I when I was actually playing, because I even had like webcam and everything on, and I'm like ran right into a bomb or like didn't move and just got like sniped right in the face. I'm like, what? How did that hit me? What? What?
Yeah.
What? You know, I'm just like, okay, like baby Falco, you
The early
learn.
days. That
But yeah, it's pretty similar with commentary, not to that
mhm.
extent, but you know what I mean. Like you
Yeah, you
definitely
could
can
judge a
see
little bit
yourself
more
grow.
like the experience you get, like the things you learn to look out for, the things you learn to listen for, and the information you gain over time, right? Your knowledge. Like there's so much that you get to expand on from at the beginning where all you have is maybe like the one weapon you decide to play.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So switching to like more, I guess, the TOing side of things, what kind of made you want to launch further into that? Because obviously, like, you've made a really great kind of part of the community, that being SplatoonTourney, and really opening up the opportunity for so many different individuals for not only like commentary, but um, competing wise and production wise. I mean, you name it. Like there was opportunities all over for players. So what kind, like, take me kind of through what kind of pushed you more for the TO side of things than like competitive or just being like a viewer and such.
Yeah. So I wouldn't call myself a TO. Like I did TO a tournament series called Friday Night Frenzy that lasted 4 seasons
Mhm.
towards the end of Splatoon 2, but that was kind of a one-off thing. As far as like Splatoon Tourney, I really wanted to create a Twitch channel that was very descriptive in the title.
Yeah.
Splatoon Tourney. This is a channel where you can watch Splatoon tournaments, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and what kind of sparked that idea was I was looking for, I'll say, missed market opportunities where there weren't really matches being highlighted. And
Okay.
one of the biggest tournament series, and still to this day, is Ludi.
Mhm.
Um, and there just really wasn't a way to watch Ludi matches other than somebody just streaming their POV.
Mhm.
You know, maybe somebody would set up a watch party for a DivX match or something like that, but there was like no production.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I was like, this is something like we can make this a series and actually have a production for it. And it, I mean, it obviously would take a lot of work and a lot of planning, but the bright side is like I wouldn't have to TO it,
Yeah.
which is great, but we would have to have everything else set in place. And you obviously have to have the teams on board. And, um, you know, not every team wants to be streamed for one way or another,
Yeah.
but I saw there was a market for it because I think that's also an enticing way to watch Splatoon. If you know a specific match is going to be happening later that day as a viewer, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Because you can look forward to it. It's not like we're watching the Joe Schmo tournament, like here are the 12 teams of pickups playing.
Yeah.
Um, it's like, no, these are, and like obviously Ludi teams can be pickups, but it's more of, it's something to look forward to.
Mhm.
It makes our job as stream producers, it makes it easier because we know the teams playing ahead of time. We can obtain their roster information, logos, whatever other information we want. And then that also helps the commentators as well. It helps them, they can do some research on the teams. They have the data that they can pull up on Challenge. So it makes their job easy. So I thought that was a good way for us to just like showcase and broadcast matches. So the very, very first Ludi Tonight match was in late 2021, I believe. And it featured Kingmaker versus InkSync. So, and those are two teams that I had play in the same season of Friday Night Frenzy. So it's like, okay, this is a good one to start with. I already know
Yeah.
the teams. Um, so it will be really cool. Now, of course, it was kind of scuffed because I was running the stream and commentating at the same time, and if anybody's ever done that, it's very difficult to do.
I can only
um
imagine.
It's very difficult, but I just I wanted again to create something that there really wasn't a market for at the time, or it was nobody was kind of claiming that stuff. Nobody
Yeah.
was really streaming these matches. And that kind of led into a few other things too. Like then I talked to DRF and Mizuno who lead the CCA, so we kind of migrated towards streaming some of their tournaments. And then after kind of the success of Ludi Tonight and really growing the Splatoon Tourney brand, I tried to find other opportunities that we could showcase streams, and that really translated to some of the lands that were happening.
Hmm.
Um, lands really started to pop off last year, and rather than everybody kind of creating their own Twitch channel, and if you have a new channel, you're not affiliated, there's no channel points. Told them was like, well, you can use our channel. Like there are certain things I would like for you to have as your overlays on your stream, but I would absolutely love to have this kind of be a central hub for some of the locals that go on. And thankfully a lot of the TOs kind of jumped on that opportunity and it's been so much fun. So yeah, growing the Splatoon Tourney channel, it's really been a lot of fun because I've gotten to learn a ton and since we're not really creating our own tournaments other than this one that we're announced that we
Yeah.
announced, this is kind of um this is kind of what we're known for. We're just kind of showcasing all the best action that you can see in the Splatoon scene.
Yeah, and I mean it's so amazing to see how much it's grown because like for some people don't realize like it used to be just one channel and because of how much it's been able to spark up and with lands popping up like you said last year, sometimes you're having 2 to 3 different locals at the same time during the same weekend. So, you're looking at Splatoon Tourney 2, 3, 4, plenty of opportunities for all these land locals to have their time to shine. Um and get put out there. And that's something I really like about it as well. Like you mentioned, like being able to look forward to is also those teams, right? There was a lot of players that got to cheer for certain teams, whether that was the name they liked of it, whether there was the players on it, the weapons even. I think there was like a team like had Hydra in their name and they always played a Hydra. Like just little
Yeah.
things like that. It allowed for these players to shine on through, people to claim favorites for teams because that's something that um, you know, is missing a lot of the time is that opportunity to have those teams to cheer for throughout competitive Splatoon.
Right. Exactly. And like lands are so unique in that regards too. Just because well it's one I've never TO'd a LAN, but I can imagine there's a lot of work that goes into it.
Mm.
And then it's even more difficult to get a fully pledged like Splatoon team to show up to a LAN, especially one that's not a major like Riptide LTC,
Yeah.
anything like that. Like to have your locals um have those players is really important. It's so amazing when we're able to see that, and really props to anybody who's been able to go to a local. I know people like have flown to some of these regionals.
Yeah.
So it's I mean not that everybody is able or can do that, but more of it's so great that we're seeing so much support for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's cool to see a lot of them, like a lot of these locals that are getting so much traction. Like I know with Pepe Sunset Surge, the amount of players that live like all over the country and then fly down for that one weekend, even though I think it's only on one day. But we've had similar with like on the other end of the country, like with Metro Inc.'s Big Dapple, right? I think we've had Dude show up just for Big Dapple, not Gridlock, which is the 2 day. So
Mhm.
it's incredible to see these players like want to attend these events from wherever they come from, for something they love, and that's incredible.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, and especially when if their friends live close by and
Hmm.
you can all go together, that makes it so much more fun. I've been to one local. There was one in Columbus, Ohio, and it was organized by Chino, Inc. 95's Chino,
Oh yes.
and who is absolutely amazing. He does so much for the Splatoon scene. He like goes way out of his way to make sure everybody has a good time because he's the one who kind of set up all the table turf IRL stuff
Yes,
at
yes.
LTC and Riptide, and then he even organized a shuttle at LTC, and he gave us all goodie bags for taking his shuttle. We're like, you're doing us a favor, and you're giving us goodie bags. Like, how you're amazing. So yeah, he's put on a tournament, and he still works with a few other people to put on some locals in Columbus. Those are more friendlies though; they're not really
Mhm.
competitive tournaments. But yeah, there's a lot that are kind of scattered around the U.S., which is awesome.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And speaking of lands, what was your first ever land that you went to?
Yeah, my first ever LAN that I went to was Riptide 2021. I was going to go to Riptide 2020 that got canceled.
Mhm.
I was disappointed, but obviously, understanding.
Yeah.
And so 2021 built up the hype, and I didn't know many people in the Splatoon community. Like I knew names, but
Mhm.
I had never met another Splatoon player IRL other than somebody who I knew who lived like an hour away from me. Um,
Yeah.
but for Riptide, it's in Sandusky, Ohio. I live in Southern Ohio, so it's only a 3-hour drive for me. So I was like, I'm gonna go. Like
Yeah.
I have to go. And I I even like since I didn't know anybody and I didn't want to just like randomly room with anybody. I literally got a room for myself because I was like, I don't know, like if I need a place to just kind of relax and not talk to people, I want to go here.
Yeah.
And then I only stayed for 2 days because I live close enough that I could drive. So like I drove up Friday, left on Sunday.
Mhm.
And so I played at Riptide 2021. I was talking to a few people online because this was right when Spawn Point, the Splatoon Twitch stream team, came about. So Carrot reached out to me and she asked if I wanted to play with her. And we had KO and then Dynamite Central. And that was the first time I'd ever met Dynamite. I knew KO as a member of Symphony.
Mhm.
He played for Symphony. So I knew two of the three players I played with. Um, but really getting to meet everybody was so cool because like I knew names, I knew Pop Gun, I knew K-Bot, but I've
Yeah.
obviously never like interacted with them or maybe had exchanged a few DMs or was in like a group chat or you know what, but I had never like really interacted with anybody in the Splatoon scene at that time. And when you do it for the first time, it's surreal. it is
Mhm.
it is so crazy and so cool, and it was one of the best weekends I think I've had in my life. So it was really good, and for future Riptides after that, I had more of my friends go. The next year, like the only Splatoon team other than the one I played in like two tournaments with in 2019, but like my first real Splatoon team, we all played together, Bitterling at Riptide 2022. And so that was cool because I got to meet most of them for the first time in person, and um you catch the land bug, and not an
Yeah.
illness, but an addiction of like, I need to go to
Yeah.
LTC, I need to go to Riptide. Like you get the land bug. And I definitely caught it because I've been to every Riptide and every LTC that has happened. So no Genesis, unfortunately. That was just a little too difficult to pull off, but
Mhm.
I I don't regret going to any of them because I've had a blast.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm not sure if it was 2021 or 2022 Riptide that was my first, but I remember I had like just recently got into comp and like for a couple months at that point. And when I went, I had made it my goal to do two really weird things. First one, get a picture with everyone that was commentating the event. And then the second was to have everyone sign a shirt I made of
I
like
remember that,
yeah,
I think. Yeah.
yeah, it was like a
Yeah.
random emote I think a friend of mine had made me because I was also interested in getting into streaming. So I was like, what's something really goofy that like would be so memorable? And it was like that. So um being able to just meet so many like and also defeat the what is it? The introvertedness that I had,
Mhm.
just being able to just go up to somebody and be like, "Hey, I know this is really random. Can you sign my shirt?" Or if
And the
I,
thing is, like, that's not like that's not unexpected at a LAN, and that's what I
Yeah.
love. Where like, yeah, you can be awkward, but you're probably not going to be by default.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like the bar is pretty low for that, and I think that's like comforting for a lot of people too.
Mhm.
So there's like nothing. I mean, obviously there's things that can be weird at a LAN, but what we would do in our day-to-day life you probably wouldn't do at a LAN, but at a LAN it's perfectly normal, and I that a lot of people probably find comfort in that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and you're surrounded by so many other people that are like-minded and have this they're all there for the same interest, and that's just to play Splatoon or just enjoy the atmosphere of Splatoon. And like you said, it's so nice knowing that you can go to these events and what you think is normal is or sorry, what you think is weird is the normal.
Right, exactly.
So what sparked the idea of this LAN Championship Showdown for you?
So I had already been in communication with a lot of the local TOs just from broadcasting their tournaments.
Mhm.
I've pretty much talked to a lot of the TOs just kind of and what their needs are to be streamed on Splatoon Tourney, or like they need the stream key. Basically, I had the connections all set up.
Yeah.
Um and it was an idea. I don't think I was the first person to ever like think about it, but I think everyone just kind of not everybody, but there are a lot of people who are like, "Oh, like it would be really cool if we could somehow like cross our lands together or do something where we're integrated." Or I know there was an idea, I think, with like a LAN on the West Coast, their winners were going to take on the winners of a LAN on the East Coast or something like that.
Mhm.
And I thought, and again, this isn't me like independently thinking. I've definitely bounced ideas off of people, and I know Saf is one of those people because she's like my right hand woman for all things Splatoon tourney.
Yeah.
But more of like, what if like we could have a tournament where the winners face off against each other, or like a, a tournament of champions essentially for some of these lands. And it kind of sat in the back burner for a little bit. It was something that there obviously needs to be a lot of coordination to happen with that, but I started reaching out to some of the TOs who I was interested in having. And it's mainly the TOs run locals who run competitive locals who generate enough teams to have um I'll say like a decent competitive tournament. So
Mhm.
like typically a LAN with like at least 6 or 8 teams minimum,
Yeah.
um that would I think I felt like would be best suited for this. And I was kind of brainstorming, and we found the 8 that I was very much interested in, and thankfully everybody was very excited. Everyone who I talked to, they're like, "Yes, like that is awesome. Like I would love to be part of this." And so we're like, "Okay, like we'll, plan sometime in 2025." And cuz this was kind of in the works in the fall-ish of 2024.
Mhm.
And I just knew, like, I had a newborn. I couldn't pull off anything
Yeah.
at this time.
Had to
I
take
was
some
like,
time.
this will be a next year thing, and that way it can kind of be a fresh start on the new year." And um yeah, there's definitely a lot of coordination that has to happen, and a lot of work for the TOs of those tournaments. Like, I
Mhm.
know I'm getting credit for this, but really it's like the 8 tournaments and their TOs are absolutely amazing for all the work that they do, and even for making this happen. Because ideally I wanted to run this event in like April or May,
Mhm.
with the stipulation that everybody would run a qualifier anywhere from January through early April.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what we're doing. That's exactly what all the TOs are doing, which is great. So I figured 8 was a very comfortable number to do a double elimination tournament. I didn't want to have that number up in the air, even though there might be some other tournaments who I'll say could be good contenders for this. I just kind
Mhm.
of wanted a nice, easy number to work with.
Yeah, that's fair.
And to have a very structured tournament, like, okay, double elimination. That's 8-team double elimination. There we go. Um, Obviously a 1-day event at that too. And um we knew the teams who were qualifying. Well, we figured that they're going to be like competitive with each other. They're obviously going to be very strong players if they win their qualifier. So
Yeah.
it hopefully hypes up for some really good matches, and that's kind of really how it came about. The idea, just thinking like, hey, we can do this.
Yeah.
We can pull this off. Um, Now, I'm obviously not doing everything. We have JPEG who's working on the production and the overlays for it, who's doing a fantastic job. He's been sending me samples, and we've been discussing a few things, and it's looking really good. And it's I think of this tournament in particular is going to be very different than any tournament that the Splatoon scene has seen, just to be
Hmm.
quite honest.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to showcasing what we can do.
Yeah. I as someone who's both going to be competing for trying to represent, the East Coast with from Big Dapple, if I'm able to succeed that far. Second twice, we'll get there. um but it's definitely something I've also like thought of in the past myself, because like it was when Sunset Surge was starting to boom. It's when Metro Inc. and Big Dapple were booming. You had SoCali pop up, and now you have all these other lands popping up all over Gatorland, Chai Shoals, Booyah Bay. Now recently, we've had H-Town Splashdown. We've had, I think there's like a Canadian land that's happening more now. You have somebody just lands all over the place, and it's like
Right.
so cool to see. And it's like, what would be the way to get these teams to be able to compete? And I feel like you taking the opportunity to try to push for it has really shown like this is the right path. This is how this can happen. And there's no more like debate just in general of like having everyone to fly down for a LAN or like a major made up of players from that region, that area of the country, to represent. Like I know when Gridlock, I think 2024 happened, you had like West Coast versus East Coast, because there were some players that came down from Cali in that
Right.
region to represent. So that was really fun. That was really cool to see. Um, so this is like, yeah, this is really, this is unprecedented territory, and that's what's a really cool opportunity for it to show what it can be. Um, and everyone's gonna pop out that to represent. I would be shocked if they don't. I mean, this is incredible. This is
Well,
something that's gonna be entertaining the whole step of the way. And even for maybe like those teams too, right? There's a lot of storylines that are gonna be able to be made, which is gonna be so much fun.
yeah, and one of my favorite things ever since we released the trailer, which by the way, Pepe, the one of the TOs for Sunset Surge, absolutely
It
phenomenal
was beautiful.
animation designer, created that trailer. Like it is so good. It got a lot more traction than I thought it would, but seeing all of the comments, all the quote reposts and everything of people who are like, "Oh, like I need to try and go to this land." Like it's sparking interest for these lands. I legit think that in this year, every single LAN, all 8 of these qualifiers will have more team entries than they did last year
Yeah.
because of this too, which is fantastic because like I mean that means nothing for me obviously. I'm not one of the TOs, but like I love that it is at least helping the TOs running their tournaments. It's creating maybe a spark of interest in our scene. Like
Hmm.
it's just it's rewarding to see that. Or like I think like even like Stormy, like he's like, "Oh, now it's on. Like we got to play for
Yeah.
real now." So like hyping it up. Hyping
Yes.
it up
Yeah.
is so fun, and I'm really glad a lot of people are expressing interest in going to some of these lanes, especially some people who have never gone to any before, or
Hmm.
some high level players who have never gone and, want to form a team to win one of their lands. And it's really cool. And I don't think the championship showdown will be like the evolution, like the next thing that we always do. It's just really a way for these tournaments to kind of interact with each other.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's successful, I would love to have future editions, but I don't want it to be like, hey, this is the next step because I said so or anything
Yeah.
like that. So I want the interest to be organic, and thankfully it definitely has been. So um that in itself has been very rewarding so far.
Considering that, like you mentioned before, 8 was a nice good number, especially with the lands that we have currently popped up, or the locals that are popped up. Um, were there any thoughts of like, because I know some like online tournaments, right? They'll do like top two placing teams will be able to go on. Was it just easier to start with 8 just to see how it goes rather than jumping to like 16 or anything like that?
Yeah, because I wanted it to be just one winner from every LAN,
Yeah,
and
makes
I wanted
sense.
it to be LAN exclusive. Because
Hmm.
there are other tournaments, even like right now, Proving Grounds is now, they have the winners of tournaments that have happened. Like I just wanted to kind of explore new territories.
Yeah.
I didn't. My goal wasn't to create like a tournament of champions, but I'm essentially doing that for LANs. But just because that's legit never been done before in the Splatoon scene. So, and I knew I had a better grasp at that because I'd already been in connection with some of the TOs, and um they would they would get more out of it as well rather
Hmm.
than anybody running an online tournament. I didn't feel like that was really my domain, my area of expertise anyways. So,
Hmm. Yeah, that's
I
fair.
tried to keep that network pretty small with the locals.
Yeah, it gives a lot more shining opportunity, especially with, individual locals showing that it does for like other people to see that, hey, like there might be a local that's somewhat close or inspired. This might inspire people to be like, I want to make a land for my state now if it doesn't have one. Because locals are popping up more, and the more love we get to show each individual one, or all of them as a whole, right? This is a great opportunity to show like, here are these main 8. Like, who knows? You could be next if this happens again in the future. Um, and that's something I feel a lot of people will love to aim for, especially as the community gets older, right? A lot more people are um, taking charge more and realizing that, like, especially Dio with H-Town Splashdown, like for the longest time think they were trying to get something going, and it finally took off, and it's showing great effort. It's really exploded to something amazing.
Yeah, and I think too, when more tournaments are coming up, you have more people to talk to as far as like, hey, how can I do this? Like you can
Yeah.
network more too. So if you see other people doing it, it really, sparks the idea of like, hey, like I can do this. I can do this too. So it really has been kind of like a a a ball rolling downhill, in a good way, obviously,
Yeah.
to kind of create some of these lands. And again, I've never done it myself. I don't want to speak on behalf of anybody for how difficult or easy it is, but it's becoming more accessible for people because they have more people to reach out to.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll never forget, like, from personal experience, the first ever Big Dapple compared to the second. Like, I think when I had Andy, Pico, and um, Law on the podcast talking about just Metro Inc. and everything, all the Big Dapples, just like starting off, and how the tournament of the first one had to end up like having the finals done online because so much went wrong. To then the
Seattle did the
second
same
one,
thing. You're not
yeah.
alone. They did the same thing.
It was just so cool seeing everyone realize, like, for the first time, like, stuff will go wrong and stuff will be, not okay, but then you run the second one and it's like, wow, we finished like on time. What is
Right.
happening?
Yeah. How did we do this?
So obviously the main thing that's been announced so far, right, is the fact that this is happening. And each LAN, each local is having their own respective like trailers come out, like and announcements. I know Chai Shoals announced theirs. I think Booyah Bay had, and Sunset Surge, they had their respective Twitter accounts post that they're having one of their events to be a qualifier eventually. I believe Big Dapple's their upcoming Big Apple 6 is not the qualifier. So for those wondering if it was, who live in like the East Coast area, this one is not the qualifier. But it will be happening soon. Um, when do you think the next announcement will most likely come out for things like maybe commentators? Could be
Yeah,
more visual experience. I know sometimes people wonder, is there going to be a prize, things like that.
right. Well, the next thing that we want to kind of have lumped into one post would be the dates of all the qualifiers.
Okay, yeah,
Um, we're still working on getting all this finalized, so we're not going to really announce anything until it is finalized. And
Yeah.
of course, anybody can go to their respective locals Blue Sky Twitter account and see if they have announced theirs, because like I'm not forbidding them from doing that, obviously.
Yeah.
But once I know that every qualifier has been scheduled officially, then we will have like another post regarding that. Yeah, as far as other production related matters, there's really nothing that we are announcing quite yet.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Um, or regarding a prize pool, yeah, there's really nothing that we're gonna say right now. But obviously, we might post about things a little bit later on.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. Do you personally have any expectations for this event?
So, I will, would love it to run on time and without a without any hiccups.
Yeah.
But again, I thankfully I'm gonna have some help TOing the event. I
Okay, nice.
I have two people who are going to be helping kind of, actually be like the legit quote unquote help desk TO people. So that's
Mm.
I'm glad we have that. As far as expectations, not really. I think what's nice is that every team who is playing, in theory, they should know how Splatoon tournaments work, because
Yeah.
they are good Splatoon players. So I'm not concerned from like the technical side of things from any of the teams or players. Um, but no, we just really want to see what I really want to see are people who are, rooting for the lands that they went to or the ones that are closest to them,
Mhm.
kind of as like their home team, their hometown team. But obviously, they're going to root for their friends or whomever they want.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I like how it creates that kind of hype as well. If you're like, hey, I went to Booyah Bay. I want to root for the Booyah Bay champion because they represent us.
Mhm.
So I would love to see that type of camaraderie. I think that's what I think is most exciting about this, and that is going to be very unique to this tournament that you don't find anywhere else.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited just to see the chats, really.
Yes, yeah. Oh yeah.
Those are always so much fun to read, and especially the copy pastas that are gonna come from it too.
Oh my gosh. I love all the copy pasta most of the time. I,
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Those are gonna be exciting.
Yes.
Um, do you have any locals that you personally might prefer over the others?
Um, I wouldn't say prefer, no, because every local is unique in their own way.
Yeah.
So really no, like all the TOs are lovely. And I love what they do for their scene. It's really cool to see um how far some locals have come and how quickly some have grown.
Hmm.
For instance, Chai Shoals has been around for the longest. I saw Froppy just mentioned it's been around since 2017.
Wow.
I don't know of any local that has been around for that long that is still going on. Like, and then there are other locals like Booyah Bay. They've only had one Booyah Bay, but it's popped off.
Yeah.
So there are so many different avenues to kind of like get to the point where some of these teams are, and that
Hmm.
I think that's really really cool. Um, but no, and unfortunately, I've never been to any of these events. I've
Yeah.
never been to any of the locals. And if I did, I would be biased. So I guess it's good that I haven't. I don't know.
For now.
But for now, yeah, we'll see. But
Could you see yourself
um,
going to a local anytime soon?
um, I live the closest to Chicago, but it's still a 5-hour drive.
Mm, fair. Yeah.
Um, and then if I went to Sea Battle, I would tell Saf that I'm crashing at her house. But and that would probably be the most likely out of any of them, to be
Yeah.
honest. But um, yeah, no, I've been to one that was in Columbus, Ohio, and that's it. But I don't know. We're spoiled in Ohio. I would say, where's the Ohio scene? Well, we have Riptide. I can't complain.
Yeah.
So I know my space. I know
You know what you have.
I know when I'm blessed. Yes. So yeah, if I have Riptide, it's okay that I don't have a local. As much as I'd love to have
Like a
like a
smaller.
yeah. So yeah. So nope, I don't really favor
Cool.
any of the locals as far as like what they do for the scene or anything now.
Cool. If things do take off for this is more like prediction based. Do you see yourself see this event maybe expanding past not only like the 8 locals that are in this first event, but maybe like outside US, right? Because you have Canada. I know I think they're trying to boost more towards the competitive side if they're able to. The UK has their locals that they run. So could you see the potential of this expanding larger if things go well?
I definitely can. Of course, you know that huge asterisk at the end if things go well.
Yeah.
Um, so the good news is hopefully this will generate a lot of interest, even for the tournaments who aren't a part of the qualifier. But this would generate a lot of interest for people to go to their own locals. But of course, we want to see how we do first this spring. Um, and if we can do another one after that, that's great. And if we can grow it, that's great too. I don't want to really set any expectations for
Yeah.
that. You know, just kind of taking it really one qualifier, one tournament at a time. But there definitely, I mean, there could be room for growth, but that's just not something that I'm focused on right now for this tournament.
Yeah, and that's understandable. We have to go through one first before we can think about the next.
Oh yes, definitely.
Awesome. Well, Falco, those are all the questions I personally have for you. So I like to give this time as an opportunity for you or and the guests to um, say whatever you would like, shout out what you would like, obviously yourself as well, and anything else you wish to add um, for being on here.
Yeah, thanks. So regarding the championship showdown, again, this really could not be done without all the TOs for their involvement as well and being excited about the qualifiers. You know, I'm sure I'm the person who kind of put the pieces to the puzzle together a little bit, but there's so much help other than like that I've had to kind of to really bring to you what I think will be one of the most enticing viewing experiences as a viewer if you're watching it online, or obviously as a participant if you're competing at one of these locals. So soon enough, we're going to be posting kind of like the official eligibility rules and everything. Like, you know, the case of like, okay, what if I go to two locals and I win both of them? So
Mhm.
I'm gonna have like a document that you know kind of talks about eligibility and rules and stuff like that because there's definitely going to be people who have questions. It's funny, somebody DM'd me as soon as the trailer announced, and they're like, "Hey, what if I win more than one?" And they were the person I had in mind as like, "Oh, this person could do this." And then I'm like, "Yep, I figured you would ask because I thought it would be I'm not going to name them, but if you've watched many locals, you might be aware of how good of a player they are.
Mhm.
But and just kind of more updates regarding the LAN Showdown. You can follow us on Blue Sky at SplatoonTourney. Rice, that is Meg. That's definitely you guys are right. Um, so we're posting more, yeah,
Uh,
on Blue Sky than Twitter. So, but follow us on both if you'd like. Um, and yeah, pay attention to when all the dates come out. Be sure to follow all the locals on Blue Sky. I'm gonna do my best to kind of retweet and repost everything that they post regarding their lands and qualifiers and stuff like that. And then also be on the lookout. I might be posting something regarding like helping with some of the behind the scenes stuff, especially some PR material, kind of leading up to the championship. So if that's something that interests you, definitely be on the lookout for that post. But um, yeah, Cactus, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. This is such an exciting moment in the community that I'm really happy that we get to experience and go through. And really thank you for being uh the person being able to find those pieces and just kind of string them aligned. And of course, for coming on discussing this event. Um, Before we sign off, where can the people find you if they wish to?
Yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky, FalcoFlyer. and commentating various tournaments. I don't plan on streaming really anymore, so you won't really find me on twitch.tv/FalcoFlyer, but um, I like watching and lurking in a lot of Splatoon tournaments, so I'm just kind of there when I'm, either rocking my son hoping he falls asleep or doing some other chores around the house. But yeah, you guys can find me on Blue Sky at FalcoFlyer. So thank you again, Cactus.
Absolutely. Thank you as well. That's going to do it for this episode of the Cactus Patch. Thank you all for viewing, listening, watching, and we'll see you next time for the next episode. Goodbye.